Let's do this, shall we? Hey there, my name is Zed Howie, and this is Howie Grow a Brand.
1, 2, 3,
If you like what you learned from this video, help us promote this channel by clicking the like button below and subscribing to our channel. Ready to go? Let's get into today's chat. Communication is the key to creating powerful teams and relationships. Whether within your organization or externally, it can really make the difference between creating tension and building trust. Effective communication is a skill that every entrepreneur wants and needs. Today, I'm talking with Chris Talley. Chris is a communications expert, truly, who most recently served as Senior Vice President and Chief Communications Officer for USAA. Prior to USAA, he worked at Fleischman Hillard and was a Senior Vice President and General Manager of offices in both Houston, Austin, as well as San Antonio. He has experience in many areas, including branding, Fortune 100 CEO and Senior Executive Counsel and Support, media and influencer engagement, risk and reputation management, and team inspiration and growth. Chris has over 30 years of corporate and agency communication expertise and experience, and his wisdom is transferable to businesses and organizations of any size. I'm so excited to visit with Chris. You're going to enjoy it too. Here we go. Chris Talley, welcome to How We Grow a Brand.
How you doing, Ed? Good to see you.
Good to see you through the power of technology. Pretty nice, eh? So, Chris, we're going to talk about a subject that you've just immersed your entire life on, effective communication. How about that?
That's awesome. I think I can cover a few things.
I'm thinking you can cover a whole lot of things, but we're going to keep it kind of focused on this episode, maybe have you back for another. So what are some of the greatest lessons relative to effective communication that you really just have take away or you always come back to?
Well, really comes back to why. Why does this organization exist? Why does your organization exist? Who are you seeking to serve? And what is the role of each individual who is a part of that organization? So typically, everything comes back to the core of why the entity exists. Its very existence, its very formation. And if we anchor to that and resist all of the noise and kind of clutter that's out there that can tempt us to go into different directions, we can stay true to who we are, stay true to who our purpose is, and be very differentiated and unique in the marketplace.
So how does that come to life in a meeting around the table discussing a project on 11 a.m. on Tuesday? Like, how do you get from the tactical and ensure that you don't lose sight of the why?
Well, ideally, the company has a very clear vision, a purpose. Why does it exist? Who is it here to serve? And for what reason does it provide the services or goods that it provides? And if you're very clear on that and you educate and teach on that, then it's easier to make decisions around the leadership table. You have to back that up with a set of behaviors. So how do we expect our employees to behave? And if we teach the purpose of the entity, the reason it exists, how we are to treat and support one another and the clients and audiences that we serve, then that helps you be very, very clear on what you are great at and what you're not great at, and provide some guardrails. So decision-making can become very easy if you do that other hard work up front. If you don't do the hard work of defining who you are, why you exist, and what you're seeking to do, then it's going to be a little bit more difficult making those decisions.
Okay, so we've got our purpose, why, and you talk about your audience. And, I've always believed that marketing's job is to enable sales. Doesn't guarantee sales, but enable sales.
Sure.
And so we may serve in different ways, but if we get focused on the tactic versus the purpose, to your point, you can really get off kilter and frankly lose your passion.
Well, you sure can. And you could succeed in driving awareness and consideration of that particular product or brand. But if you're not connecting it all together through that common mission or purpose, you could make the phones ring, you could do all the clicks you want on digital, but if the fulfillment side doesn't understand what we're trying to get done, or the communication side, or every part of the organization isn't interconnected and anchored on that core reason for being, you could show up fragmented, you could suck at fulfillment, you could miss on the opportunities that you create if you're just looking at it from a marketing lens. So oftentimes we say, let's step back and say, what are the functions that we are good at? What's the maturity of those functions? Do we need to amp up social and slow down corporate responsibility? Are we slow and lagging on corporate responsibility, but great on marketing? So what's the balance that's necessary? It's kind of like tuning a guitar. I don't play a guitar, but I've come to appreciate the importance of tuning the guitar for this audience and or the song that you're seeking to perform.
You know, that is a great illustration because, you know, you think about a guitar, I think it has 5 strings maybe. You could be a perfect tactician, but if one of those strings is not tuned properly, the whole thing's blown.
That's right. And many times and you know, I've talked about this repeatedly, Ed, and that is with marketers and clients who are seeking to drive sales. So they're under the gun, they're accountable for driving sales. I get that, I appreciate that. We all are capitalists in the US. We want to make money and we want to deliver so that we can invest or deliver for our investors. So I get that. But if you don't start first at home, internally by communicating with your employees why you exist, what your role is, how this is all interconnected, again, I just think there's a need to consider the internal and external balance. And sometimes I've seen it happen time and time again. If the marketers will slow down long enough, maybe give up a month or 2 weeks to get the internal right and nailed, the gain on the other side is really, really exponential. So It's that balance. You talked about it, and I like the guitar analogy because it just kind of helps you understand that you're not just playing one string.
Where is it that oftentimes you see brands or business leaders go astray and realizing you don't own the reputation, but affecting the reputation? What are some strengths to making that work, and what are some misses you've seen?
Well, you know, one thing that's really critical is what are we seeking to accomplish? So more often than not, your clients from a marketing perspective are seeking to drive sales. But there are times when it's a retention game, or it's not necessarily an acquisition game. Let's slow down the growth so that we can invest more internally to prepare for growth in the future years. And so in that particular case, it's retention of the existing customers, ensuring that you have attracted and retained the right employees on your side, whether it's 8, 10, 10,000, like I said previously, and really understanding that in many cases, perhaps the communications function is going to inspire no action. Like, I trust and believe in this company, and so therefore I'm not going to leave it. I trust and believe in this church, and I like worshiping here. And as long as we stay true to who we are and do not become something we're not, this is where I will tithe, and this is where I will take my family to worship. So it's any entity. I used to ask people, what are the 3 brands, entities, or organizations you love and why? And what are 3 that you used to love and don't love anymore? And if you start there and make it personal to your individual situation, it's pretty easy to get your head wrapped around what a true brand is and what a failing brand could be.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You know, it's interesting you shared that. We use a similar model for a similar purpose, but it's called the Power of 5, and it's basically speaking to retention and sales. And we tend to think it's got to be an ad campaign or this incredible video. Well, we suggest or propose the practice of who are the 5 customers you love the most, and when's the last time you told them how much you love them, and then what about the 5 customers you miss the most, and when's the last time you try to get them back?
Love it. That's a great strategy.
You know, and retention is kind of funny. Retention's not one of those sexy things we often talk about in marketing because it's all about the new, right? It's all about the growth. What, as someone who crafts and orchestrates messaging, where does retention play into leading a brand, especially right now with everything going on in the world and in our country?
Well, I think that when you think about a foundation of an organization or a foundation of, let's take a nonprofit. So retaining your donors on an annual basis is one of the top priorities of a chief development officer. So certainly that person is seeking to bring new dollars into the organization, but it's a no-brainer. If you're losing ongoing donors, you have to bring in more to grow. So what is realistic for the local Boys and Girls Club in a particular area in terms of its donors? Can they retain 70, 80% on an annual basis? In a good year, and in a year like this, perhaps 50%. And where do the resources go in times like this? We're all concerned about the future, and as long as we're in this pandemic. So it's not like people are looking to open up their wallet. So I'd be spending my time, money, and resources on the retention side, not at the expense of pursuing new donors, but I think right now, 2020 would be about, in that particular organization, let's hold on to what we have. That's part of our foundation. The foundation of an organization isn't just its employees and its infrastructure. It's where does the day-to-day cash flow come from? Where are we seeking to grow and invest? And do we have the capabilities and capacity to do that? Or do we have the patience to be smart about when we actually do that?
Love it, Chris, man. Always a joy visiting with you.
Can't
wait to see what the next chapter is in you, man.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Hey, I really hope this helps and inspires your day. If any of this works on your business this week, I'd love to hear about it in the comments, or hey, just message me. Can't wait to see what we chat about next time on How We Grow a Brand. We'll see you soon.